Hey guys, welcome to Laurie's little tiny studio. I'm still not in the little studio, so clearly I'm in the tiny studio. And today I have this in front of me. I'm Laurie, and let's go ahead and get these two packages open. I know what they are, and I mentioned this in my last video, the one about making bows and more bows and all that kind of stuff. It's something I haven't touched since I was just a little kid, and I'm like so excited to do this. It is on the same scale as my Le Jardin French General embroidery project, which, as you can see, is coming along. I'm working on French knots to fill the center of this big, what I think is either a poppy or possibly a dahlia, but I think it's really a poppy. So I'm working on that, have all this to do, which is exciting. Let's go ahead and end the suspense and see what we've got. Alright, so here is the hook, and here is the loom, and it's metal. It feels very sturdy. It's quite heavy. I don't feel any burrs or snaggy spots on any of the little prongs. It's not too heavy to hold, but it definitely feels very sturdy. And this does too. I don't think, I mean, I'm not going to try to really try to bend it, but I can tell that it would be difficult to bend, so that's good. All right, and the next item here I'm opening it from the bottom. So as you probably know, there is a very specific item that you have to have. Okay, so these are called loopers. They're cotton, I believe, blended synthetic fibers. Okay. Weirdly, I almost 100% believe that the listing for this said cotton loopers. So it's in a zipper bag. I have the hardest time with these. It's so weird. I wish there was like that there. Okay. All right. Oh yeah, they feel really. Oops. They feel super loopy. Hey guys, this is the next day. Oh my goodness, what was I thinking yesterday? I went ahead and made one after the catastrophe total fail first one, because suddenly my memory came back about how to actually use this and how to actually use this, and also I needed to find my crochet hook, because my set, which this came in a box, as you saw, and this arrived in a box, as you saw, and there was not one of these, which is a crochet hook. If you've not seen one before, mine has a wood handle. It is a, I'll pop that up there so you can see the actual numbers, but you might want one that's a little bit bigger than this. This one is a little small for these hoops. Okay, so now what you have to do is you figure out your warp. Which of these do you want to use? And I am just going to be totally random. And you just hook them on. And I'm not going to make you watch me do that. So I will be back in a minute with this whole thing filled out. Actually, I did think of something. If you have solid, whoops, if you happen to have solid loops, let's say you've got 2 packs, one is dark blue and one is dark red, or you're going to do a Christmas, one is green, one is red, we'll just say that, and you want to make a pattern, a very specific pattern. There are books out there with patterns. I think there are even some online where you can just look to see. But what you want to do is consider your warp. And if it's going to be all one color, and then you're going to weave the other color in, you'll end up with a very checkerboard look, which can be quite cute. But you could also put, you know, one green, one red, one green, one red, and then do a solid row of one color up to a certain point, and then alternate one green, one red, one green, one red, and you'll start to see patterns in your head. Okay, I was actually looking to see what the size is of the finished project, and the reason that that's an issue is because it will definitely be smaller than 7.5 by 7.5. So that's something to keep in mind. The reason I'm mentioning that is I think it ends up being a good inch. So it might end up being a 6.5 by 6.5. Alrighty, so the next step is have all of your loops gathered up. And if you've got a pattern in mind, you know, set that up the way you want it. I'm just going to be random. And then, starting here, take this hook side of this tool, and down here we'll start under. Let me back you up a little bit. And we're going to start under. Well, heck. Okay. So we're going to start under and then over. Alright, so we want this to hook onto this prong right here. So I'm just going to hold my fingers there while I pull this through, and it won't come undone. Like so. Also make sure it's not twisted, and then just hook that like so and push it. Okay, it's getting to the point where this is almost too tight for me to push this all the way through. So instead of waiting until I get to the end, I'm just going to finish these next 3 using the technique that I was going to show you for the last one. And that technique is go ahead and push your tool all the way across like you would normally. And you just kind of have to use your fingers on your other hand to help guide it through, like so. Now I'm going to take my loop and I'm going to let it bypass this hook right here. I'm going to go about halfway and just let that pull on through and hook it on this side like I would normally, about right there. Okay, so now I'm going to come back through And I just need to look at this. I mean, I can even undo as much of it as I need to, but I think you can see it's right here. So I know this is an under, so I'll be going over, under, over, and then I'm going to grab it like so and finish this. Now, I'm going to double check. I want to make sure that I have it correct. So I have over, under, over, under, over. Yes, okay. And push it. Just like that. Alright, we're only going to go halfway. About there. Oh, that's so much better. It's not snagging at all. Okay. Alright, there we go. So here it is. And now we'll use the crochet hook like so. And you're going to start on just whatever corner you want to start on. So if it's this one or this one, whichever one, wherever you stop when you've gone all the way around, that's where your little hanging loop will be. So if I see one, I think this is where I want the hanging loop to be. No, this is where I want the hanging loop to be. So we're going to go underneath this right here. So splitting one loop in half underneath and pop that off so that it lands on the crochet hook. And then we're going to go underneath and pop that off, and then we're going to crochet through the first one, and we're going to go through and pick up the next one and crochet through the one that's on the crochet hook. It's difficult for me because my crochet hook is little. If you have a bigger crochet hook, that will work just fine. And as you can see, you're getting a nice little crochet edge right here. Now we need to take the middle of this, just take one of the loops and hook it back like so. Otherwise, when you get to the last edge, they'll all just pop off because this is so tight. This will not hurt the project at the end. I'll show you how to adjust that. Alright, so we've got the loop here. We're going to go under this loop and crochet. Okay, now when you get to the end, we're just going to pull this through. Some people say that you can just leave it like that and it will stay. I'm very skeptical of that. So let me pull this off. So let's just see. So here's the frame. That's where we started, and this is how much smaller it really truly is. Let's go ahead and give it a quick measure. There we go. Alright, and now our finished is 5.5. That is insane. It's gone from 7.5, actually a little bit smaller than 5.5. Wow. I'm back in the little studio. I'm out of the tiny studio. It took me a minute to get my camera and the boom and the lights. I'm still seeing some shadows, but you know, today's a rainy day and I'm just not a lighting expert, but it's a lot better here than it was in the tiny studio. So I kind of have this business in front of me. And I have decided that I am going to redo all of my Christmas decorations this year. And this is the list of things that I needed to purchase to do some of the new deco. Oh, you have to focus. There we go. The first thing on the list is this right here. These are pieces of unfinished blank wood, and you know how Amazon loves to do that. They'll say 32 pieces unfinished blank wood pieces, wooden squares for crafts, natural wooden cutouts, tiles, round wood circles, DIY blank wood discs for Halloween, Christmas, tree hanging decor, 3 sizes. Now it says squares, but I clearly see 3 different sizes of circles. So I don't know what I'm going to get. I hope I get what I see in this picture. We'll see. And then I have ordered some Eileen's Clear Gel Tacky Glue. And it says that this and the glue and the Mod Podge right here, which is an 8-ounce gloss Mod Podge, water-based sealer glue and finish, will arrive on Friday. And then I ordered some Craft Treat Vintage French decoupage paper for crafts, dash French background and floral fantasy, dash size A4, 8 pieces, script decoupage paper for scrapbooking, dash furniture decoupage paper, French writing. Basically, this is what I'm going to put on the back of these squares. That's my plan. Okay? It is like a rose print. It has some French script, different styles of roses, very vintage rose, I guess. This is, well, I'll go down to here and I'll skip. This one is a decoupage paper pack, 12 sheets, A4, 8.5 by 11. Christmas, New Year, Santa, FLONZ, vintage. And it is Santa Claus, Santa with roses. I think there's some angels, there's some trees, there might even be some animals. Very vintagey. So these bits of paper will be decoupaged to the fronts of these up here, and the back will be the vintage rose French background. I could not decide if I wanted to make the next part of this video a video all by itself, or if I wanted to just attach it to the end of this video. And the reason that I attached it to the end of this video is because we are on November the 28th of 2022. Many of you, many of your friends, family members will likely receive a sewing machine of some sort, or they have a sewing machine that they wish they could take out of storage and kind of fix it up and get it ready to sew some aprons or napkins or placemats, tablecloths, fun clothes, anything that you could actually do for the holidays if your sewing machine was up and running. So I'm going to go ahead and include this part. This is George. George is my Bernina 1080 special. I've had George for a very, very long time, and he's my workhorse sewing machine. I had the opportunity to purchase a new Bernina, and I turned it down. I know many people are like, what? But I just didn't feel like I needed to do that. I take good care of George. I don't sew on a commercial level, so I don't really need an industrial sewing machine. The sewing that I do for my own fun, and I do it for my family. So I just take care of George. And here's the thing. Since I had to like pack up and move out of my little studio for a while, George has been in storage in a sewing machine case. But there are still many traces of dirt, dust, debris. It's weird. I don't know how it happens. But I thought that I would unpack George and clean it up and get it ready to get back to work in the sewing room, and just kind of take you along while I do what I usually do when I'm working on my sewing machine maintenance, I guess. So I'm going to get a few supplies, and I will meet you right back here. Okay, so this is like a little bag that I made that I keep some supplies in for keeping George cleaned up. A lot of people will say don't use canned air, and I have to agree with them if you have a heavy hand or if you've not used canned air before. Okay, I have a couple of old paint brushes that I use. I have a microfiber cloth that I use, and I have some machine oil that I sometimes use. And then I just have a little spray bottle in here. I don't, it has water in it, but I don't use water on George. I might, if the cords are dirty and dusty from being, you know, attached and left. I know how it can just happen sometimes. I might spritz off a paper towel and wipe those cords off if there's just like a coffee stain on my sewing machine, God forbid. Same thing, I'll just take a little bit of water on a paper towel and wipe it off. But there's no need to have water around your sewing machine. Okay, so my table here, this is just a giant, big rectangle table that my husband attached power strips to, you know, that you can plug multiple things in. I have power strips over there on that side, right before the lip edge where the legs begin. And then right over here, I have another set. So I can plug my sewing machine in to my table as needed. I have two cords for the Bernina 1080. One is for the power, and one is for the gas pedal. There's two cords, and I'm going to check this and make sure that it looks like it's going to be fine. There's some debris right there, but that's okay. As long as everything looks okay. These are hard to come by. I have seen them on eBay, or if you need one, you might have a sewing machine shop or repair shop that would be able to supply one for you. My daughter has the same sewing machine that I have, my oldest daughter, and she did have the need to purchase a different foot pedal for her machine. There we go. So, like I said, it can be done. Alright. Don't throw it down on the floor. Just set it gently to the floor. And then plug your sewing machine in. Now, when I stop sewing with my sewing machine, like for the day, if I'm done, and of course I might stop sewing and go have lunch or make a phone call or do something else for a little while, I still do this because if I don't do it one time, I'll be out of the habit. And if I'm out of the habit, then there's just no point. I'll forget it every time. So I do it every time. And that is, I drop my presser foot down to the down position, and I put my needle in the down position. I don't want my needle to get broken, and if it's up, it's like, if it's not in the down position, it's likely to get broken off. So to store it or to stop sewing, I put my presser foot down and my needle in the down position, and then I turn off my sewing machine and take all the cords out, and that's the end of that. If I'm traveling with it. I don't do all that business if I'm going to come back and sew again sometime. Okay, but to clean it off, I'm not going to turn it on at the moment because it's dusty. So I'm going to take my little microfiber cloth and wipe it off. Okay. So, I mean, it takes a little while. It takes some patience, but I want to make sure I don't have any dust. And I mean, this type of microfiber cloth, it comes with glasses. You can buy them online. I happen to have this because I bought a packet of those little alcohol wipes and to keep in the kitchen, for both my husband and I wear glasses. And this little cloth came with those little alcohol wipes, and I use it in here, and when I get a new one, I'll bring it in here. I don't generally use these on my glasses. I just use those little alcohol wipes. I think late last year I took George in for some, heavy duty maintenance, and it's funny because people tell me that my machine still sounds horrible. I've listened to George off camera and I've listened to George on camera, and there is a difference. So I don't know why it picks up sound the way it does, but anyway, he's running just fine. But there was a piece missing on the very bottom, and the sewing machine repair shop replaced it for me. It's just a stabilizer foot. Okay, now I'm going to take a brush. I'm going to take my bobbin out. Oh, wait, no, I'm not. I'm going to lift my presser foot and turn the machine on and raise the needle. I can find my foot there. Okay, the bobbin stopper was pushed over, and that's why, there we go. That's why my presser foot wasn't working. I thought, oh no, what a time. Okay. All right, so the next thing I need to do is get a flashlight. I just used the flashlight on my phone, and look inside this area right here where the bobbin goes. And I take this brush. It's a really soft brush, and I just clear this out. I do not remove the hook. If that needs to be removed, it goes to the shop. Okay, and the next thing I do is I take off my presser foot, remove the needle, and this is if it's been in storage. Remember, this is a unusual set of circumstances. And then I take off this faceplate right here. I have to drop my feed dogs by turning this little dial over here. They drop down, and I remove this right here. And then as carefully as I can, I'll take my brush and just lift the lint out. If I have lint like this, I don't know if you can see it, there's like a little ball. Oh, I don't know. There it is, right there. Little ball of lint. I'll try to pull it off. There it is. I don't put this back in here. I take it out, I wipe off the lint, throw it in the trash, and then go back in for more. There will always be more. You're going to have lint because you're using thread, and you're going to have lint because you're sewing fabric. There will never be a time when you don't have lint to clean out. Okay, now I'm going to push George back away, and I'm going to take this canned air, and you see how far from George I am? I'm just going to go, I just saw some lint fly out the opening right here. That was extremely light pressure on the nozzle. So there we go. Now another place that you're going to get lint, so be very careful. If you need help, this sewing machine is very heavy. If you need help holding it to get up here in this area, make sure you have someone that can hold it for you, or just tilt it back and get that lint, and then again about as far away as you think you can manage. With the canned air. Okay. All right, now I'm going to take this brush because it's kind of skinny and it's a little bit more dense. There's more bristles. I'm going to just run that down inside very carefully. No thread. I'm not putting any pressure on any of the moving parts. Again, if you're not comfortable doing this, just have your machine serviced. Okay. Now, I don't think George needs any oil at this point. There's only one place that I am comfortable putting any kind of oil, and that is on the bobbin hook in here. There is a spot where if you look with a flashlight you can see that there's like a hole, and that's where your bobbin thread goes through. And I'll just put a dab on this brush and just kind of run it in there like so. I don't have any oil in there right now. I don't think I need any. I'm going to check it, make sure I don't before I start gobbing it up with oil. Okay, so now I want to put this back on, and that comes from back here, and there's a hole right there that fits on a peg right there. Let me zoom in for you. We'll see if it will let me. Yeah, it's right there. It's just a little tiny raised peg, and this goes just like that and clips into place. Okay, so we need to make sure that our feed dogs will come up. So we're going to turn the dial over here on the side, right here. We're going to turn it to the back of the machine like that. Then step on the foot pedal and that will cause your feed dogs to rise up where they're supposed to be. Okay, so next I'm going to look at my foot. This is kind of an all-purpose foot number 0 for this machine. I'm going to put it back on the little peg. Lock it into place. I'll do that again. I do have a pretty comprehensive video that I tried to put together last year that shows all of these. Ooh, goodness. All right, so this, I just don't want to show up. Well, this is the peg right here. And I'm going to put this right there, and then on the back push down on the lever right there. So that's how that works. All right. Then I will put my bobbin back in. It's moving counterclockwise. So I'm going to flip it over so that it's running clockwise. And then I'm going to put it right inside the bobbin case. I'm going to use this little guide. So the first picture you see will be of the channel, and the second picture that you see will be of the guide. And that will be where my thread is emerging. Okay. All right, once the thread has emerged from this area, if you're not going to utilize the little arm with the hole in the top, which at this point I'm not, then we'll just put this into the sewing machine in the hook right there. And then we're going to grab some thread to thread the sewing machine. Okay, I decided to go with this Gutermann pink. The thread goes on the post. All right. I'm using the post in the front. If I were sewing with a twin needle, I would also be using this one, but I'm not. So it goes on like this, and my thread comes off counterclockwise. All right, I'm going to thread my machine. I like to kind of make sure it's really seated down in this area. I just kind of pull on this. No, I mean, I'm not pulling, I'm just kind of tugging and tugging with both hands. And then loop it, and then loop it. Make sure that that arm is up, and then come down and go through that final guide right there. You'll see it on your sewing machine. Okay. And then we must have a needle. This is a sharp, and the back of the needle that goes to the back of the machine is flat. So I just put that in my machine, and I usually just turn my fingernail upside down and hold it like so. Tighten the screw. You do not have to crank down. Make sure the needle is snug though. I mean, it's not going to be a sloppy hold. So go ahead and turn Bama's barking at somebody. Turn that screw until you feel resistance, and then just a little tiny push more, not too tight. And then I usually pull my thread to the front. I never wet the end of my thread. That just causes it to bloom and come apart. So I'll just do this and then run my dry fingers down the needle and then aim for the needle eye. And if you are unable to see it, you can also use a needle threader. And then pull your thread. Make sure that the thread is on the front of your needle. It should not be looped around and coming off the back of the needle. Just make sure that it's coming all the way down into the front. It might want to twist, and if it does, you'll just have to kind of double check it and make sure it's running straight down the front part of the needle. And then I hold mine off to the side like so, and I turn my flywheel over on this side, that round thing that's on the side of your sewing machine right there. I turn it toward me only, one full turn. So when the needle goes down and then comes back up, I'm done. And then I can pull my pink thread and it will pull the white thread in my bobbin right up through the middle of the foot. And so I have my 2 pieces of thread that I then guide to the back and close that little door. Now I'm going to grab a scrap of fabric from my cabbage bag right here. This is where I keep little tiny scraps of fabric that I might need, and you never know, sometimes you do. Right. Now I'm almost always going to be stitching on 2 pieces of fabric. So I don't see the value in stitching a test on a single bit of fabric. I will fold it over so I have 2. And then I'm going to drop my presser foot, put my machine and needle down. I always do. I find it's a much better way to sew. And then I'm going to start stitching a straight stitch. I can see that I have some adjustments to make over here with my stitch length and width, but I'm just going to start sewing. Okay, it's a little bit on the tight side. So I'm going to hit the clear button. What the clear button does is it clears out all of the previous stitching that I was doing before right now. So I just push this button right here, clear, and it sets my width and my length right where it's supposed to be, regardless of where these red lines are, that you can adjust by turning these dials. I'm not even paying any attention. I'm looking at the lights, and I'm looking at the lights, and I'm happy with where that is. So let's keep going. Okay, that looks really good. Now I'm going to try a zigzag stitch, not changing any of my width and lengths. Okay, I'm going to lift with my needle down. I'm going to lift and drop so that I can move forward a little bit. Okay, lift and drop. Put it back into a different, obviously we'll do a fancy stitch. Okay, everything is moving as it should. Okay, that looks really good. I'm happy. The only thing I need to check is to make sure that it's doing a reverse stitch, and I will be good to go. So I'm going to lift my needle and my presser foot and pull this forward just a little bit. Put my needle in the down position and then put my machine in reverse stitch on a straight stitch. Oh, it didn't take, okay. All right. Now I can just gently pull this out and cut my thread. Now you're going to notice that this machine does not self-thread. It does not have a thread cutter other than this manual cutting knife over here. It's all pretty much what you do with this machine. You are going to be setting it up. Some of the features are a little computery, like the buttonhole stitch and the mirror stitch and the some of the other fancy stitches that I don't want to confuse you with or get into right now. But most of it, like threading your needle, cutting your thread, all of that is going to be done by you, not the machine. Okay, so here are my stitches. This is the straight stitch, obviously. Let me adjust the camera again. Okay. So this is the straight stitch on the top side, zigzag stitch on the top side. I turned and zigged over here, and then I went, whoops, and did stitch number 13 on the 1080, which is this one. Might need to be calibrated just a little bit. All right, and then this is just loose thread where I pulled forward, and this is my reverse stitch from here to here. So on the back, everything looks good. It's hard to see because it's got white bobbin thread, but it's all, there we go. It is pulling the pink through just a little bit, which means I need to adjust tension. This is one of those things that you know, if you really want to understand your machine, this is the thing that you can do with a piece of fabric. You can sit, I recommend doubling it over, and just play with your tension and decide what it is that you're trying to establish with that. Now the other tension is on the bobbin, and for me, the best tension on the bobbin is when I can hold my bobbin by the thread. Oh, that's a little tight actually. Interesting. Okay, so you're gonna have to forgive me. I don't have a little skinny screwdriver, but there's a little screw right there that I know you can't see very well, and I'm just going to back off on that a little tiny bit. I want the bobbin to slide but not fall. And I always go lefty loosey. Yeah, okay, there we go. So as long as it doesn't fall, it has a little bit of tension. It feels right to me. Yeah. So we'll see. Once again, pull the bobbin thread up. Now I know a lot of people find these older vintage sewing machines a little hard to deal with, a little fiddly, when there's so many sewing machines that will just do such a great job, you know, of threading the needles and cutting the thread and setting the stitches and all of that. It takes a lot out of the experience for me. So if you're like me and you enjoy these old vintage machines, then this video might be helpful. All right, so I'm gonna check. Now that I've loosened and loosened, I'm gonna see what I think. Okay, so I have less pink showing through and my fabric hasn't bunched up. You know, it's not pinched under the stitches. So I'm happy with it, and it is a nice strong stitch. I feel fairly good about this. I'm going to try a straight stitch. Nice even stitches on both the front and the back. And here is what it looks like from the inside. It's very strong. My stitch length is set at 2. So let's see what 3 looks like. Out of idle curiosity, I'm going to move it up to a stitch length of 3. Okay. So this is 2, this is 3. Okay, so we have checked our stitches, and you know, if you want to, you can always just put a date on these and put it in with your cabbage, and then you'll have, you know, oh, the last time I did this was on 11/22 of 22. never hurts. It never hurts to have this, especially if you have to take your sewing machine to the sewing shop. Often you cannot get the machine to replicate the issue. Just like a car, you know, it's going to make you look silly, but if you have proof of what it was looking like, the person who works on it will have such a better idea of what it's doing and how to fix it. Okay, so I feel like at this particular time, George is looking pretty good, and I'm not at all concerned about how George sounds. This is my table attachment that needs to be cleaned off. There's a bit of dirt there. It's a good idea to keep all of this kind of, you know, equipment clean, because if you're sewing with fine fabrics, you really don't want to get that dirt, debris, dust, whatever, in my case dog hair, on your fabric. So just keep it wiped off. Keep these threads out of the way, and then you'll be able to pop your table back on. There we go. That's very nice. Still needs to be cleaned off. That is where my little bit of water will come into play. And then I just kind of set this off to the side to let it dry. And I put my little bottle of water, my canned air, my paintbrushes, and my oil back in this little container or basket I made a couple years ago. It is a double layer of fabric. It's quite sturdy. I made these little decorations I just hot glued them on. I did not stitch these on. Yo-yos and whatnot. And visually it reminds me when I see it, because I've kept this stuff, you know, in here. Oh, I need to clean my sewing machine. So that's my George bag right there. I'm so hopeful that I can get the lighting in this room sorted out. Let's see, now I'm going to turn my machine off, drop my presser foot and my needle so it's in the down position. And I have this type of cover. It's just I don't know what this is, vinyl of some sort, that goes right over the top of George to keep the dust and debris off. Just like that. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.